So this is going to be probably a crazy long video, and most people aren't going to be interested, especially if you don't have a fiberglass kayak. So what I'm doing is that I want to touch up, but I want to do a keel strip. And if you saw my other video, this right here is keel ease. Basically it's a heavy vinyl with an adhesive that you just bend on. Well, this being basically a plastic boat, you can't fiberglass a piece on here. So on this kayak, I'll actually do it, but I'll do it in fiberglass. And it's hard to tell because this is the first one I ever did. And you can kind of see where this coloration difference is here. This is actually a keel strip too on the bottom of this boat, but usually you'll do it in a different color. And normally it looks thicker. This is actually pretty thick, but I sanded it and buffed it all, or floated out, so it was smooth with the boat and you didn't have like a transition line. And you can see here, even though we see fiberglass right there on the bottom and it all scratched up from countless times being pulled in and out of the water, this is actually a whole nother piece of fiberglass laid on the bottom of the whole boat. And it comes up and rolls right up the back here, and same here. And then there's a whole nother coat of gel coat on here. So we're going to do the same thing with this boat, but it's going to need a lot of work. So if you're doing your own glass repair, you know, if you can go to a fiberglass shop, don't go to like a big box store or Western Marines. Yes, they will have some of what you need, not all of what you need. And you don't need all of this. The shop I go to is actually just quite a bit away from where I live, and I like to keep a stockpile that way. I use some of this stuff for other things, painting, who knows, whatever. Crafts for the house, you know, doing things with the daughter or whatever. But I just keep a stockpile of things, and things that I've used and had to use before. You know, these are just clamps, the whole plastic up, and these are just mixing buckets. I get over there, I buy some there, you know, $6 worth or whatever, and I find a bunch of other things I can use. A nice little plastic bucket with measurements on it. Stir sticks. I mean, you can stir anything if you want. These were just actually ones I dragged out that I used to use, the popsicle ones with the kids. A little bit of extra cloth. This is actually, I take it back. This is actually 3-inch ribbon cloth right here. This is what I'll do the keel strip out of. Here's some from another job that I did, 2-inch. And then I like the disposable brushes with they work easy. Every once in a while I use one to touch a paint around the house. You're done, you throw it away. Some things like the hardener doesn't have a really good shelf life, so you're basically buying enough every time you go. Sanding aid, which is a wax solution. I'll talk about it a little bit more when we start mixing some glass up and looking at that. Most people don't know what this is, but this will take the place of this plastic or release type plastic later to help sanding. Some of the stuff that I just picked up a new roller. I've tried rolling before, but I want to try it again. A tub of resin, polyester general purpose, some black pigment, some off-white gel coat, and some red. So I was actually able to talk to .65, and I picked up some of these because I use them for a bunch of other things. And I mean, it's just, this shop is actually, I mean, this is their branded stuff, FGCI, and it's just, the price difference is just like going on Amazon or eBay and buying stuff, you know. These are like 20 cents. So I was able to get the color code for the boat from .65, but they use some color system that I could never find, like a crossover to something someone here might use. They're out of Sweden. So what I ended up doing was getting a very close red and a somewhat close white, but that's one side. So I'm just kind of rolling the boat over and I'm starting to get it ready for this keel strip. So this center tape here, the blue, is 3 inches, the same as my piece of fiberglass tape. So as you can see, I left a little gap here, and what I'm going to do is lay one more piece up about halfway, and then I will pull this strip back off here, sand this space out, and we can laminate that piece of fiberglass right up in there. And then while that's setting up, we'll pull that first piece of tape off, and that'll give us our first edge. What I'll probably do is, instead of trying to go around this, I'll probably just do a little cut like this here and something on the back here too, whether it goes like this, or actually it may just go like this and not try to fill this little piece. We'll see. And you can see, I just laid this in by eye. I made a couple marks here and here just to get it sort of straight on the boat. Pulled it out. I did a little measurement in the middle where I could get a reference point. Got it fairly close, and then laid the green in by eye. All right. Okay. Well, I laid this in. Sorry, I'm not running the camera while I'm actually doing some of this, but man, it's just a pain in the butt when you're by yourself. I had a little bit around here where I pulled it up. It snagged on there, and actually this flashed a little quicker than I thought it would. It came up a little here, so not a biggie. We'll sand those points down a little bit and we'll cover them up with gel coat. But you can see how when I pulled the first one off to cut my bead in here, now I've already got my second line set up. I just have to retape the whole thing off and I'm set to go for gel coat. I just need to clean up a little bit of where it's high. A couple strands that came loose. Alright, maybe when I do this next part. I thought I had mixed it a little bit lighter so it wouldn't flash so quickly, but sure enough, man, that stuff went just as I was getting ready to start pulling the paper. I could see it was already gelled up a bit. Okay. Alright, let's see how this works. So, I wanted this has to be tacky when I'm doing this. And basically, we're just going to throw on this gel coat. If this isn't tacky, this isn't going to stick. And I can see where I already had some issues. I don't know why, but this piece of cloth is not laid down especially well. It's kind of unusual. I've never really had it fight me so much as this did. Definitely didn't want to set right. Speak louder. Not really what I was thinking about doing on my Memorial Day all day, but it had to get done. try that. Let's see if we can keep as much of this off the garage floor as possible. I do want this on pretty heavy. The idea is this is like a sacrifice. So as the boat rolls up on shore and scrapes and whatever, this takes the punishment, not the actual hull of the boat. And as this gets worn away, I can see when the damage is happening and take care of it. I just want a good cover. Make sure everything's stuffed down, no raw spots, no shallow spots, no totally effed up places. Once over everything. Over here, this hole is very tight. Man, I don't know what it is, but I could have swore I'm mixing this stuff. It's hoping so it wouldn't flash so quick, and sure enough, I mean, this stuff's done. So am I. Trick here is not to get shit everywhere all over the house, or all your tools, or you. way I laid the tape, it's going to take 2 layers of tape before I get that cut. What I want to do is try and pull it straight up or a little bit into that wet gel coat. I want to keep moving because I can already see where it's going to tack up on the edge, which I really definitely want. Well, it looks good on camera. Some touch-ups, a little bit of cleanup to do, but let's just take a quick look over it. So not too bad, and I don't know if it's going to show up right now until I look at it in the video, but the reason the bottom looks all kind of dull and everything was because I knocked the whole thing down with some sandpaper, so I'll end up just hit all that back up, polish it up, it'll gloss right back up. I want to wet sand, I want to frickin' let this dry overnight. And I mean, there's a couple little spots like right there and there, but all in all, for what it is, we'll clean that up, that'll come right off. Not too bad. Done better? Yeah. Could I have done better? Yeah, maybe. But, like I said, it's a sacrificial strip. It's designed to get chewed on. And it looks pretty straight on the boat. And so, we have to fix this yet. I have a whole new skeg system on order from .65 because I needed this piece. I wanted to replace the cable. And the spring. And by the time I do all that, it was just as cheap to buy a whole new kit. Was like 50 bucks, 65 bucks because I had to pay for shipping. We'll clean this up. We'll make this repair fairly small. It's going to be a little bit of a bitch, but I'll see what we can do there. We'll let all this dry up. We'll take this outside. And this sticker actually burnt a mark in the boat. We'll sand that out a little bit, just knock that down. We'll wet sand all this and knock this down, get this a little flatter, clean this up. Life goes on. This boat will get beat on even more than that. So when I go to sell it, that's a frickin' savings for somebody. Alright. I'm done for today. I'm cleaning up. Alright. So I laid this up. I showed you the other day. Pulled tape off. Well, of course, oops. And I need one of those gyro things to hold the camera still, and I need to slow down. I'm sorry, I'm probably making you all sick, but in a couple places the cloth actually wrinkled up a little bit more than I wanted to, but the biggest issue I have is, so this edge of the cloth laid down super nice. I mean, this is exactly how it should have finished out. But for one reason or another, and I really think it was the way they had it rolled up or the way it was stretched or something, this edge is super sharp. You can't really see. You can kind of see it right there. So I'm going to knock that down. I got a little light, and it doesn't really matter quite as much. This is sacrificial. So you can see where you can see through it a little bit. But basically the idea is this gets abraded as you go up on shore or whatever, hit a rock maybe. You're still going to get damage out here. But a lot of it, since this is the lowest point of the boat. So I'll sand that down. I'll end up having to sand all this down now to get the wax off and get this knocked down a little bit, and then we'll hit it again with some more gel coat. Alright, so it's late, we can see that, and I'm still working on this frickin' boat. I'll be honest, if this was, from what I've seen before, for the most part of what people do keel strips, I would have been done a long time ago, but I'm too anal. So I rolled this on, came out fairly decent. I did make one mistake, and I went back and tried to thicken it, and it pulled it a little bit, so I had to do a bit of sanding. And I went through here, there, so I'm going to lay 2 more coats on, and it'll be done. So I had it all taped up. I worked on, is it this one? Put this gel coat in the refrigerator for a little while, cool it down. It's extremely hot in here. And I would try, if you're doing this, or even any kind, try to make it as few passes with the roller as possible. Keep it fairly wet. Use that roller to lay it down and move on. You don't want to tack up. It look like crap. There's no wax in this. Try to get one more coat on tonight with wax. I'm done. Not doing anymore. It's a wear strip that's meant to get tore up, so, and I can already tell this is starting to harden up already. I believe it's laying down. exactly what I said don't do. Just want to make sure there's no craziness. Actually, this doesn't look too bad. Alright, now it'll just have to set up for about an hour, 30 minutes till it tacks. So it's tacky but not sticky, if that makes sense. Alright, getting ready to get this last coat on this thing. I'm done with that. It'll look good. Good enough. It's going to be under the boat most of the time anyhow. Nobody will see it. You can see where I came back and touched that up with the roller and see how it left that mark. So part of the trick to the roller is just to make sure you lay it down and be done. Coming back is not a good idea. The problem is, you know, it's probably 80 plus degrees right now. And even though I'm cooling it down because of the red pigment, you want to run this a little bit hot. And, oh, sorry, I dropped some. You don't get a lot of work time. So you want to lay it on, move it down. Way better than the brush. The brush makes a huge mess. And I'll pull the paper off when I'm done with it a little bit after I lay the next coat on. And just to give you an idea what I'm doing. So the garage is a complete mess.
About this one, but we didn't get too much information. We know that the MP600 will be launched around the same time as the 3rd Gen Ryzen Pro.
So, right there with the beer and the champagne is some gel coat cooling down. And the workbench is a complete disaster right now. But just to give you an idea, you know, this is old stuff. That way I don't throw it in the garbage and it gets all stuck together. I let it dry out over here. There's plastic actually under the paper to save the bench a little bit. Just in general. And just that. So if you look at this computer case, I actually shortened that computer case down by like 6 inches so it fit on this shelf right here. I had a small one out here, but it kind of sucked, and I want to be able to use that for videotaping some bigger things out here on the bench. And something I'm getting rid of, a giant part washer. But and I bought those new speakers up there, so the garage setup has moved considerably far since when we first moved here. But we'll get on the boat here in just a minute. What did I say not to do? Well, actually, this must have been cool enough, and it must be laying it on much faster. I can tell it's not setting up as quickly. That's going to be kind of bumpy there. But, yeah, need to listen to my own advice. somehow, and this is I'm not even going to touch it. I'll see it down a little afterwards. Yeah. I don't want to have to sand this spout down. Jesus. Nothing worse than sweaty hands and gloves. When I sanded it earlier today, I tried to clean up most of the red gel coat that had gotten on the white. Get it somewhat organized and cleaned up. The outlet is all off. Sometimes I wonder how it gets underneath the tape. Saw that one spot there. Oh, good. Battery's almost dead, but still recording. Alright, so this will be it. I won't sand this down unless it's super crazy bad over here, which it looks a little rough, but like I said, this is not really for show. This is actually for a purpose. Try to keep the bow of the boat from abrading, or I guess abrading would be a correct word for that. No, it wouldn't. Abrading. From, let's just say, getting roughed up, because I can't come up with the word I want right now. Abrasions, how's that? We'll use that word, abrasions. I still have some work to do in here. That area needs a little bit more gel coat. And see if you can see it. That whole back edge, it had no gel coat. I had it, but it wasn't even touching the fiberglass. We'll gel coat that up. We already fixed those couple little spots in white. That'll be fine. We'll probably sand that down, just touch those up a little bit. We're getting there. Let this dry for a couple days, clean it up, do a real nice, do a wet sand at like 400 over the whole thing, and polish it. And this whole thing will shine. I already sanded, knocked down a bit of the bottom, filled a few of the bigger scratches. Got all the most of the red off. Get this sticker off. We'll do it tomorrow while we're working on that little spot there. Got this one off. Have to clean up where that sticker was. And get that one off. Alright, I'm going to clean it up, go in. This side keel strip came out nice. It's got like a little bit of texture to it. It's not sharp. I don't go fast enough for it to cause some type of hydraulic effect on the boat, causing me to slow down or dive under or turn to the left. That's probably the truest statement right there. Alright, looks pretty good. Coming along again now. Put some of the gloss back on the bottom. I did a 1200 wet sand final, and then I'll polish it out from there. Okay, so we're moving along again. So this came in from .65, the rebuild kit for the skeg. So by the time, if I ordered the cable, got the new controller where that piece right here was broken, yeah, I mean, kind of small, kind of flimsy in itself, and got a new spring kit and all this, it would have been more than buying this whole kit with a whole new skeg. And what's funny is the skeg comes pretty loaded with the spring and everything all set up, and even brand new. I mean, that piece is still a little twisted in there, but it would have cost more to buy the parts than it would cost to buy the whole kit. And so there's the old one right there. So I'll duplicate this knot and set this one back up. But what I did notice, hang on, let's grab this. So if you remember, I ground this out a little bit because it was all just chunking off. This needs just a little bit of sanding down in this bottom edge here. But when I set this in and I push this back until this point here rides up right there, that's where it touches, and I don't know if you can tell, you see how much the screw hole's out of line? When I push it, so there's where the screw hole should, there's where the screw hole, so when I'm pushing it, it's literally pushing this up, so when I go to screw it down, it's going to want to cock it. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to grind some of that edge right there out, and I may end up having to just grind a little off the back of this so that that mounts in there flat without that weirdness. Kind of stupid, but whatever. think people would have their shit together a little better. But anyhow, so take a quick look at this. I polished it all out, and yeah, there's some scratches here and there, and it's still, but I'll be honest, the first time I throw it back in the water, that red strip I just put on there and did a nice job on, it's going to be scratched anyhow. Get an idea from up here, and the other side's kind of shadowed. I can't really show it right now. And is it perfect? No, it's got a little bit of waviness in it. If I would have listened to what I told you and not to roll it back over it twice, it would have looked better. But like I said, the first time this goes in the water, this front edge is going to be scratched up because I just don't baby this stuff. I drag it off the beach into the water. It'll get pounded on. Kayaks will be dragged up on the deck. It'll be beaten against other kayaks. But all in all, came out pretty nice. And you can see it's got a little bit of shine to it. You can still see a couple rough spots where really the whole thing could stand to be wet sanded with some 800, then some 1200, and really if I wanted to push it out to 15 and then rebuff the whole thing. But like I said, that's the first time I waxed it in 4 years, so carry on. So I'll get this set up. We'll take a look at it as I put it back together. Okay, so it's all done, put back together. I took a lot of footage. I'm sure I'm going to cut it up and hack it up, so some of it the verbiage may not seem fluid or something like that. I don't know how it's going to show up yet. So when you get to this part, if you do, you know why. Alright, so a couple pointers. Things that I said don't do, I wouldn't do, even though I did them. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you watched the video, thanks, appreciate it, and have a great day.